of the Institute of Political Studies in Moscow. Sergey joins us from the Russian capital. Thank you so much for your time, Sergey. What do you think victory for Russia in Ukraine looks like? What will the victory be if Russia can achieve it?
It's very easily. Russia doesn't need new territory because you may know that Russia is the biggest country in the world by territories. But Russia wants that anti-Russia, which had been constructed by United States military spin doctors on the Ukrainian territory, should be replaced by neutral Ukraine, by democratic Ukraine, by demilitarized Ukraine, but Ukraine where people will live in prosperity and in the peace. Vladimir Zelensky is a classical puppet of American, and he was cheered in U.S. Congress exactly as U.S. Congress cheered head of South Vietnam junta and Afghanistan junta, Guaido planning head of the Venezuela junta, and all of them failed, and Zelensky will be failed as well because he's puppet of United States. And this is not war between Russia and Ukraine because majority of Ukrainians are Russians. This is war of United States and personally war of Joe Biden against Vladimir Putin. And dozens of thousands of Ukrainians and Russians dead because Joe Biden hate Vladimir Putin.
Sergey, you're leading into an even wider discussion, or at least that's where I'm going to take it, because we recently had the Russian ambassador in Kazakhstan warning of some kind of action by the Russian military there. There are other former Soviet states who are also concerned that every time they say something that's critical of Moscow, that the Russians are going to attack them.
No.
They are worried. They are worried. They say they're worried.
No. They just lying that they're concerned because they want to take American money for their political profits. Nobody worry about this. Vladimir Putin many times told that, of course, Soviet Union was a great project, but it's no sense. It's absolutely impossible to recreate the Soviet Union again. We don't need to take Ukraine. We want Ukraine to be neutral, democratic. We demand all political prisoners should be liberated. All thousands of political prisoners should be liberated. All political parties which have been prohibited, banned by Vladimir Zelensky and his American supervisors, they should be liberated, allowed to have political activity. All millions of Ukrainians who strongly believe that Russia and Ukraine should be in peace and friendship should be liberated, allowed to have political activity. This occupation regime, which had been created by United States in Ukraine in 2014, after last democratic elected president of Ukraine, who been taken away from his position. This time, Ukraine became the synonymous of tragedy and collapse. And I think that all countries in the world should come to the Russian plan, which is very easy. Immediately stop firing, immediately liberation of all political prisoners in Ukraine, neutralization and democratization of Ukraine, and the Russian language as second language, because 80% of the people in Ukraine speak Russian language.
Sergey, just finally, do you think the Russian public understands exactly how many setbacks their military has suffered in Ukraine? Why doesn't the Kremlin reveal how many Russian soldiers have died? If the public were to find out possibly what the truth is about the number of Russian casualties, Vladimir Putin, you're talking about democratically elected leaders. He's a democratically elected leader, which means, presumably, he's answerable to the people who voted for him. Western analysts, and I think you'll probably disagree with it, they say at least 100,000 soldiers from the Russian side have died, probably the same amount on the Ukrainian side.
Not same amount. It's difficult to say. During the war, nobody say the true figures about own losses. And same time, I think Russian authorities try to avoid to give this answer. Frankly speaking, I personally trust nobody who talk about casualties both on our side and Ukrainian side. It doesn't matter. My own calculations that the losses of in Ukrainian army some kind of 3-4 times bigger than losses on Ukrainian than the losses on Russian army because Russia is saving all soldiers, and American generals who had a Ukrainian army doesn't care about casualties and losing of Ukrainian soldiers, who is mostly of them Russian. They speak Russian language. Ukrainian army is a very specific army. Russian soldiers, one of the best soldiers in the world, fascist officer, and American general. Very interesting postmodernist combination.
Sergey, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it. Sergey Markov. Well, fair to say, Sergey, that you're representing the Russian point of view there. Can we say that? Okay, thanks very much, Sergey. Always appreciate it.